All right. Thanks to those joining me live and to those that will be joining me and Ashyknuckles on Archive. Make sure you throw a jab at the like button. What's going on, Ashy?
Nothing much, man. Another week in the books. Same
Yeah, you
old,
could
same
say
old.
that again. Same old, another week booked. So, man, speaking of things booked, more fights booked this weekend. All right. Booked and official. Before the weekend started for us, other than Australia, because they're like a day and a half or 2 days ahead of us, some crazy shit like that, right?
It seemed like it,
Uh,
yeah.
they're in the future and shit, So their weekend, they got started with Horn versus Kasasu's son, Tim Tszyu.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, actually, I was impressed. And it also looked like it was early in the morning, so I had to kind of clear my eyes a little bit and be like, "Am I watching some replay of like Casa Su?" But I knew it wasn't him because he didn't have the rat tail. You know what I
Right.
mean? So that confirmed it for me. But he fights just like his pops, man.
He
Just like
does. He
his dad.
does. Yeah.
So you could tell who taught him first. So man, what you think of that performance, man?
Man, I think it was a great way to get his name known, at least across the pond. I mean, he already has name recognition based on the fact that his dad is a legendary fighter, living legend. Uh, but then to knock off Jeff Horn, who made his name by knocking off Manny Pacquiao, or at least securing a decision against Manny Pacquiao, it only adds to his shine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What remains to be seen now is Tim Tszyu going to come across the pond like his daddy did and fight the best fighters in the world in the States. You know what I'm saying? That remains to be seen. But what you was about to say something?
No, I'll
Oh,
listen.
but yeah, he fight just like Pops, man. He fight just like Pops, and he's aggressive too. He don't look like he's shying away from contact, from engaging. And he was letting his hands go, man. He was in there to achieve a goal, and that was to beat the most recognized name in Australia, which was Jeff Horn. And now Tim Tszyu's name is what's ringing bells in the land down under. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so now what remains to be seen is what he's going to do in the 154-pound division. Looks like he's a strong kid. Jeff Horn was trying to rough him up, bully him, you know what I'm saying? But Tim Tszyu wasn't bothered by all the rough housing, the inside, the grappling. He took his time, and when the openings was there, he was letting his hands go. And it was just a poor outing on Jeff Horn's behalf, man. He looked terrible in there. And ultimately, what Tim Tszyu brought to the table was much too much for Jeff Horn, who ended up retiring on the stool. Now, granted, his face wasn't busted up and he wasn't bleeding profusely, unless I missed that part. It looked like he just really got outfought, you know what I'm saying? Ran out of gas and had nothing left before the end of the fight. Maybe it's honorable to bow out of the fight when you're not physically hurt. Over here, the show must go on. Guys get broken jaws, guys get torn rotator cuffs. So what? Don't throw that motherfucker. Throw the other hand. You know what I'm saying? But the fight must go on. So that part of Jeff Horn would never, that part of him will never hit home for the American audience. You know what I'm saying? You got to be a warrior through 1 to 12, no matter what the hell happens in the fight. And I don't know if he comes back from this, but Tim Tszyu, I mean, everything is aligned for him. He's an undefeated fighter, boxer puncher, name recognition, strong guy. You know what I'm saying? He got a good right hand. He ain't got daddy's right hand, but it's good enough. You know what I'm saying? And, we'll see what happens for him at 154 pounds.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Guys, to tune into the September 1st edition of A Puncher's Chance. I'm being joined by Ashyknuckles. Make sure you visit MandatoryDefense.com. We got Juan Castellos Espanol. He says, what's up to everybody? We got Chief Funky. Black and Brown Boxing says, D-Style salute. I'm being joined by Ashyknuckles, of course. Sonteo Media, A-Rod. And then, of course, we got True Titan Saints Bronx on deck. What's going on to you guys? And, of course, Bruce Goes giving a shout-out to D-Style Boxing and Ashyknuckles. You can visit me on Twitter at DStyleBoxing. Follow Ashyknuckles at 8 Punchers Chance on Twitter as well. And in the bottom, you can see it. Go to mandatorydefense.com. We're talking about Tim Tszyu destroying a Horn. You know what I like? The fact that Tszyu-Horn, regardless of what anybody feels about him, did bring experience to the ring. Right, he's been there with crafty guys like Crawford. He's been there with legends like Manny Pacquiao. He's been knocked out before, came back and beat Serafa. So he has a lot of experience, and he brought that to the ring, Ashy. And one thing he's known for is making fights ugly. It's hard to look good in there against a guy like Tszyu-Horn, but Tim Tszyu did. And the fact that he was able to deal with the roughhousing like no problem and manhandle Tszyu-Horn himself showed me how strong this kid is at 154 pounds. What did you make about his strength in that ring?
Yeah, he proved it. Yeah, you're right. He proved it. Now, granted, Tszyu-Horn is much stronger when he was a welterweight. And at 154 pounds, I haven't seen him against the upper echelon in this division to say that he can muscle around guys like Jarrett Hurd, the guys that make for a rough and tough, brutal fight in close quarters. But he's still a rugged guy, and, he's still fairly strong. But whatever he was, it wasn't enough for Tim Tszyu. You know what I'm saying? And most of the top fighters at 154 pounds don't fight like that. No way. So it's going to be more of a battle of skills. And that's what I'm more interested in seeing. How will his skills, align with the upper echelon guys at the weight, even if you just fight the top contenders as opposed to fighting the champions. I want to see how he does against, I guess like a guy against Jarrett Hurd, or a guy like Gallimore who we just saw fight, or the guy who just beat Gallimore, the Fundora kid, who's going to be trouble for everybody just merely on the fact that his dimensions are so off the chain. You know what I'm saying? He's like a Latino Paul Williams, man. You know what I'm saying?
A little extra in length too, I think.
Yeah, he throws punches at odd angles. He don't stop throwing either. That's what makes him remind me of Paul Williams. So, I want to see Tim Tszyu against those guys, against the top contenders at 154, and I want to see him really make some noise and see if he can follow in the footsteps of Kostya. Because seldomly you see father and son dominating the same, at least the same sport of boxing. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to do, man. Silk sheets and no sheets with holes in the mattress is something different. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, absolutely, man. And we're gonna touch on Tim Tszyu, I have a feeling, in a little bit. But first I want to kind of dive into this. So on PBC, first of all, shout out to Martinez beating Arcone, or it was a draw. I'm sorry, I believe it was a draw. Good fight. You guys need to check it out. They both knocked each other down. So make sure you guys check that one out. Good stuff. They have it here on YouTube. Check that one out. A lot of people missed that one. Alfredo Angulo looked so slow. I'm actually worried about him, actually. He did not look good. And I'm not just – he's always been slow. You know what I mean? Like his hand speed. But I mean like the motors, like the kind of process – thought and stuff, you can tell, like even his reaction to punches is slow now.
Right.
It's time for him to wrap it up, dude. Like watching him and Kid Chocolate a couple months ago was kind of sad. They both shot to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's time for him to hang it up. But the fight I really want to ask you about, if you want to give thoughts on, of course, on Angulo as well, but what we want to ask you about is Lara against V for Vendetti. Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I always kind of hope, whenever I don't know who a guy is, I always hope, hey, who knows? Maybe he'll come in and like, yo, I'm here. You know what I mean? Now you know who I am. Like Biggie Smalls said, right? If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know. Yeah.
Right. So, but I didn't know, and now I'm not going to keep knowing, like so Lara just, even though his legs aren't there like they used to, even though, I don't know if you agree with this or not, even though his left hand isn't quite the sharpshooter it used to be, it's still solid. It's still good enough to beat this dude, So What did you make of that fight?
Oh, well, you're right. Laura's legs are not what they used to be, and I know I touched on that on our last show. That in his last few fights, he's been fighting a more settled fight, standing in front of the opponent, and being willing to engage with these guys. And I think that obviously has something to do with his age. Being 37, 38 years old. But it makes for a more entertaining fight, and you usually don't attach the words entertaining to a Lara fight. But I like his fights much more now because now he's forced to show more in his bag of tricks, than what we knew he brought to the table before, which is when he relied mostly on his legs. But Laura's not a knockout artist, but when Lara sits down on his punches, he's able to get respect. And that's what I respect mostly about him. Yeah, he didn't knock the guy out. He didn't just beat him to a pulp either, but he actually, he asserted himself in the fight and made a successful defense of his regular title. Even as an older fighter, he's still in this thing. He's still regarded as one of the top fighters in the division. And, he like Chris Burr used to say, you get the W, you move on. And that's what happened there. But V for Vendetti, he had an opportunity to showcase, like you said, to show that I'm here. And that's how we got, unknown guys in the sport, like your Ricardo Mayorga and whatnot. There's many other fighters that didn't have the big amateur career, and they end up being solid professionals and stuff like that. And, this was his opportunity. Even though fighting in a bubble without fans in attendance, you still have the Fox viewership peaking over 1 million. You know what I'm saying? You still have 1 million fans watching. This was your opportunity, and he didn't take the bull by the horns. You know what I'm saying? He didn't do enough. You know what I'm saying, to make the boxing audience be like, man, I must see this guy again. He tried. He closed the distance. But Lara just he's a little bit more defensively sound than what this guy's used in the fighting, the fighters he's accustomed to being across the ring with. And he ran out of ideas, man, because everything he tried, Lara shut down. So maybe we'll see him again, maybe we won't. I guess his biggest claim to fame is that he went 12 rounds with one of the champions. So
yeah, definitely. 4-4 Boxing says cold rubber cement slow in regards to Angulo. And Bruce Go says Angulo has taken too many beatings to continue. I do agree with that. And 4-4 Boxing also says Lara is still a problem in his opinion. A-Rod says, wish me luck, guys. I have to test positive for COVID-19. Hey, best wishes to you, man. I hope everything goes well, man. All right, the Texan says, what's up, D-Style, Ashyknuckles, and everybody? What's going on, the Texan? How you doing, man? And you guys can shoot us some questions, by the way, and we'll try to get to those as well as we continue. And, of course, we got boxing conversations with Regis Jones. This is a celebrity, bro. This is everywhere. You know what I mean?
And, let me touch on Angulo.
Yeah.
Like you said previously, when he was fighting Kid Chocolate, they both looked terrible in there because this was an opponent to make Kid Chocolate look good. You know what I'm saying? So he can be positioned for his next run or whatever. And he ended up looking way worse. You know what I'm saying? And I guess from there, Kid Chocolate knew that his time had come and gone. Now he's a owner of a trucking company, I guess, following in the footsteps of Juan Diaz. You know what I'm saying? But Angulo, for whatever reason, man, he thinks he still got it in him. Now, you always got to beat it out of a fighter. You got to beat a fighter into retirement. But he's been beat up before. You know what I'm saying? Dudes is beating the shit out of him, and he keeps wanting to continue fighting. And he's dirt fucking slow. He's turtle fucking slow. Snail slow. You know what I'm saying? Way slower than he used to be. His time. He has no timing. He has no anything. I believe one of the top amateurs at his weight would beat the shit out of him. You know what I'm saying? And I know Al likes to look out for the fighters, especially the fighters that he has signed and stuff like this. But it comes to a point where if the corner and your trainers won't tell the fighter, dude, you're done. At least the manager and somebody need to tell this guy, you're on the verge of being punch drunk. We got to start looking out for these guys who will have medical problems later on down the line because your brain is, your body is not meant to take all this punishment year after year after year. It's just not. The brain is real fragile up in there. You know what I'm talking about? And
Yes.
don't be surprised if some of these fighters show signs of CTE. So somebody needs to tell them, man, it's over.
Yeah. No, you're right. Like, shout out to Get This Smoke. Says peace to everybody. Also confirmed Quillen retired. Shout out to Big Dog Willie. How you doing, man? ING's on here as well. They need to stop giving these guys licenses to fight. Yeah, man. But even when they do, man, we got 50 states, Ashy. Just one of them has to say yes. Right? We got hundreds of countries.
A whole earth.
Yeah, we got a whole earth. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we got reservations that could say yes. We got there's so many ways for these guys to fight, but
he can go to Mexico and fight.
Yeah, but yes, it does help when this is why the sanctioning bodies are around, right? Because there's hundreds of countries and all that, but there's only I know I'm saying only, even though there's too many, but there's 5 or 6 of them, right?
Yeah.
If 4 or 5 ban them, it's a lot harder to get a fight.
Well, not necessarily. It'd be hard to get a fight sanctioned by one of the organizations, but you got damn near, I don't know how many state athletic commissions.
True. Yeah.
Nevada, New York, California, Texas. I mean, they're damn near in every state. Some of them is boxing and wrestling. I think some of them are still merged like they used to be back in the 50s and 60s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to make a fighter stay out of the ring. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Somebody will give him a license,
Yeah, this is a serious issue, man. And believe me, I'm not trying to be funny when I say this, but how do you I don't think a beating is going to convince Angulo to retire because he's taking a lot of beatings, right? So it's not like some guys take a beating and they're like, man, I never take a beating like that. I'm done. Angulo will have fights where he's taking a beating and then he knocked the guy out and it's his thing. So I think they just got to tell him, man. Somebody just got to tell him it's it.
Yeah.
Hey, man, it's time to wrap
it up. Man. Yeah. Try another shit. Walmart hiring.
Yeah,
try
shit.
Something else, man. Be an entrepreneur or something.
Just don't get in a fight at Walmart with dudes that don't want to wear a mask. You know what I mean? Just stop fighting, bro. You know what I mean?
So do you think there's a possibility that he can transfer into bare knuckle fighting? Transition in the bare knuckle fighting.
I don't even think he should be doing that, dude. I don't think Angulo should be fighting at all. But yes, it's possible. If they can get a name, oh look, we have Angulo, a former boxer, and he'll probably lose or something, But
those guys, they're not as skilled as boxers,
Right.
So maybe what he has remaining can make him champion over there. It's just a thought. He don't need to take no shots to the head, but you never know, man.
Yeah. Look, Angulo lost to first of all, this Hernandez guy, man. He's 11-4. And he made this guy look fast, bro. I don't think Angulo won. He won maybe a round.
Right.
In that fight, I mean, it was kind of embarrassing, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? What's up to Big Dog Willie with that super chat? He says, am I the only way sick of the Bud Spence soap opera? To be honest, it's starting to sound like AJ versus Wilder debate. Whose A's head, whose B-side garbage.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm at a point, Ashy, where I just waiting for these, I still talk about the fights I want to see, but I'm not investing that much time in them because it's like a waste of breath.
Man, remember when we chased Mayweather Pacquiao?
Right.
That took 6 fucking years, man.
Yeah.
6 fucking years, bro, to get that fight. I'm not doing that shit again. You know what I'm saying? Now, granted, it ended up grossing the highest revenue for a fight at that time. But the fight sucked, and for what it's worth, we built it up to where the fight was bigger than the event was bigger than the fight itself. You know what I'm saying?
True.
And that only benefited the fighters. They didn't benefit us not one fucking bit. So, I mean, yeah, we end up getting the fight for his history's sake, but it was a dud. You know what I'm saying?
Well, like, here's what I've been telling people about the upcoming pay-per-views, right? Everyone's focused on the wrong stuff. Hey, shout out to Stormy B-Man out there as well. And yes, ING, a Russian dude beat Malignaggi and bare knuckle, but Malignaggi has brittle hands. Like, Malignaggi should never fight bare knuckle. Like, you know,
Yeah.
so with a dude with hand problems, bare knuckle's the worst sport you could join. You know what I mean? But
Good point.
yeah, everyone is like, I don't care what Tank Leo sells. I don't care what the Charlo's pay-per-view sells, right? I would rather it only sell 200,000 and it's a great event, right? And the people who bought it feel like they got their money's worth, and it makes them feel good about buying the fight. So they look forward to buying the next boxing pay-per-view. I would rather that happen than what we got with Pacquiao Mayweather, where it sold 4 million plus, and everybody went home with a crappy undercard, right, and a glorified sparring match, because that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
You know, both these guys it was their worst output out of both guys.
Yeah.
Like, they have never thrown as few punches in 12 rounds, both of them. You know, and like that's amazing for what they got paid. You know, so to me, I want to see boxing give good fights. Everything else will fall in place. You know,
That's what I'm agreeing with that wholeheartedly. Yep.
Yeah, make the fights happen. Good fights will come out of it. You'll create return fans, okay, and everything else will fall in place. All right. That's it. And yes, no, Paul, they marinated the F out of that fight. Absolutely. Okay. So, yeah, no doubt. Now, with that said, we talked about Lara at 154. He has a belt, actually, the regular belt, WBA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Tim Tszyu. Well, Tim Tszyu needs an opponent. We keep saying Lara should fight somebody with a pulse. You know? What are your thoughts on that fight? That like if they make that fight?
I would like to see it, because if I'm Tim Tszyu, or if I'm Tim Tszyu's people, and I really believe in the Tim Tszyu, then that would be the guy I would go after, on the mere premise that he's getting up there in age, and
Right.
even though he's still a solid fighter, his reflexes aren't what they were. I mean, Lara has always been difficult to hit, but now a stationary Lara, he's not as difficult to hit, but he's still pretty difficult to hit, but at least he's standing there. And if you're as skilled as you think you are, try to knock off a guy who's knocking on the door 40 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a doable fight. And I know Lara will take the fight. He still wants to fight the very best in the world. He still thinks he can reign as champion. So he's not going anywhere in case they want to try to age him out. Lara's still going to be there. Somebody's going to have to beat the shit out of Lara to get him to retire. You know what I'm saying? He didn't come all this way to quit on his own accord, just to quit boxing. He's making more money than he's ever had in his life. He's living the lifestyle that he never seen back home on the island. You know what I'm saying? So the only way he coming out of this sport is somebody got to beat the shit out of him out of it. And I don't know if Tim Tszyu can accomplish that, but if I was him, being 25 years old and Lara knocking on 38, 39, that would be a guy. That would be the direction I would go in. It only makes sense.
Now, Wayne Jr. in the chat, shout out to you, man. He says, Lara's getting the winner of Charlo versus Rosario. I mean.
That's what he says.
Yeah, but I don't think Lara beats any of those guys, but I mean, you could argue he deserves a shot at him,
Yeah.
So
That
I would rather
regular title will eventually get him a title shot,
right.
but I don't know if he's first on the list.
Yeah, and I agree with Bruce Goes, man. True crossroads fight. You know what I mean? That young kid, up and coming. I mean, not that young. I think he's like in his mid-20s, but still
Yeah,
young to the sport. You know,
yeah.
and against Lara with all that experience, maybe not in his prime, but still solid, and also with a lot of experience. You know, and sometimes it's not. It's a young man's sport, but those old guys, they have tricks on in their sleeves. So, who knows? He might pull a rabbit out of his hat, outbox Tim Tszyu, and that'll be a big win for him. So that's how I see that. Shout out to Jay Cooley and No Paul. Jay Cooley's asking, you still shopping for that pillow for when Loma puts that baby to bed? Man, we might touch on that fight a little bit, but I want to get your opinion on this, Ashy. ESPN Plus, Jose Ramirez versus Postol. Man, this should have been on ESPN, first of all. But hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But after everything they gave us on ESPN, you couldn't put this one on, What you think of this fight, man? Postol, Ramirez, controversial. How did Ashyknuckles see this fight?
I did score the fight for Ramirez by a point. I think it was like 7-6. I know y'all probably thinking, how the hell can you score a fight 7-6? Well, I had one round even for both guys.
Okay.
It was a 10-10 round. Nobody lost the rounds, no fouls, nobody got knocked down. I forget which one it is because I don't have the paper in front of me, but it kind of went the way I thought it would. I thought Ramirez would be a whole lot more sharper in the fight. He wasted a lot of punches, but it wasn't because he didn't train for the opponents, because Postol was not trying to give him a stationary target. So kudos to Postol for that. Postol was boxing behind the jab. The 1-2 was working fairly well, at least earlier in the fight. But as Ramirez began to turn it up, you started to see a lot more jabs and a lot more movement than anything from Postol. And for me, you're not winning no rounds again in the fight just throwing a jab and moving and basically not willing to engage. I mean, if you're hitting your opponent that easy with the jab, you got to sit down on something. You know what I'm saying? You can't, you can't just sit around and jab and try to block and move and just throw a jab here and maybe a jab to the body. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that would work for a regular outing in the ring, a regular fight, but you're fighting for the championship of the world and unified titles. And the old adage is you got to take the title away from the champion. And if the champion is engaging, he's cutting the ring off, he's coming after you. And it's not like he's missing all his shots. He threw some good body shots. He threw some good right hands. You know what I'm saying? So when you move so much like that and you're not really forcing your will and being the boss in there against the champion, it looked like you're just trying to survive. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you make them miss and you got to make them fucking pay. You know what I'm saying? So, I think he was just okay with making him miss shots. You know what I'm saying? You got to put something on his fucking ass. You got to make the judges say, hey, man, this guy is trying to win the world title. Other than that, the rounds are going to be a little bit close and the judges are going to be more inclined to score the close fights, the close rounds for the champion, because the champion was coming at him. The champion was trying to dictate and he was being the boss in there. He just wasted a lot of punches, but it wasn't like he was wasting all his shots. Postol was feeling the effects of some of those shots. You know what I'm saying? He didn't come out of the fight unscathed. You know what I'm saying? But he did prove that he belonged in the ring with that caliber of fighter. But, like I said before, if you're going to make a miss, you got to make them pay. At some point, you got to start sitting down on these shots and put some on the champion, put some on his ass. You know what I'm saying? Or put him on his ass if you can't. You know what I'm saying? You got to be the boss in there. You got to take that fucking title. You can't just try to skate your way to a 12-round decision trying to take unified titles away from a guy. It's just not going to happen like that. I think this was a blown opportunity for Postol, and I don't think it's because it was a lack of him trying, because I've seen him fight plenty of times. He didn't fight Aydin like that. he put those punches together against Aydin. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like Postol don't put his punches together when he's fighting in boxing guys, but he didn't do it in this fight. He was reluctant, even with the little that he did. That he didn't fight his fight that we're accustomed to seeing. So I scored it by a point for Ramirez, another successful title defense. But I do think a blueprint has now been written to kind of give Josh Taylor more of what to work with as far as building a game plan whenever they do match these champions together for Undisputed.
Yeah. Good points. And shout out to Alex. He says, thank you, Al Heyman. Salute to D-Style and Ash. I think that's a shot at the main event of the PBC. But hey, man, I think we got some good fights from PBC coming, though. 4-4 says 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, usually, referring to Postol, obviously. Okay, Postol only fights one way. Shout out to Dan, the man, up in here. How you doing, Dan? And Reggie's still on here. And Napoles says Postol doing the running man inside the ring. Taylor doesn't have Postol's reach, though. And that's a really, really good point. That he's still tall, though. Taylor's like 5'10", isn't he?
Oh, yeah, he's up there. I don't know his exact measurements, but he's tall and rangy.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know, man. I feel, and I agree with you. Like, I feel like Ramirez won the fight, but I also felt like, no excuses. We don't make excuses over here. But Ramirez looked a little sluggish, but you can't use that as an excuse because Postol had to. His fight was postponed too. You know what I mean? He had to go through COVID as well, and so it's not like, I'm trying to say anything about that, but at the end of the day, I just think that Ramirez, is game. I think even though if anyone wants to say that Taylor is the favorite going to a undisputed unification fight, right, with Josh Taylor, if anybody wants to say that, I don't have a problem with it. But I got to tell you, Ashy, I still think Ramirez beats Taylor. I still think that because nothing's really changed. I think Postol has a better jab than Taylor. Postol gave Taylor a tough fight too. People forget about that. You know what I mean? And some, not me, but some think Postol, you could argue could have beaten Taylor on the cards, but at the end of the day, it's a fight I want to see, though. I think both guys are, they're not the perfect fighter or anything. You know what I mean? Both guys are hittable, and both guys like to scrap, man. Taylor has good movement on the outside, but at the end of the day, I say he's a front foot heavy guy. He's going to stand in front of Ramirez. They're going to trade, and it's something like that, man. I think that favors Ramirez myself. That's what Ramirez wants you to do.
Yeah.
What Ramirez doesn't want you to do is move around the ring like Postol was doing, using that stick, right? But here's my next question to you. Where does Regis Prograis fit in this? Because Taylor came out, he eked out a decision against Regis,
Yeah.
I scored at 7-5 for Regis Prograis. And do you think that a Regis Prograis fight with Ramirez is possible before he even gets to Taylor?
Well, considering the fact that Regis only signed a one-fight deal with PBC, right. There's no guarantee that he's going to stay with the Al Heyman, with the Team Heyman and PBC. It's a good possibility that he will too, because he's going to be seeing way more money than he's been seeing thus far in his career now that he's gone from DiBella Entertainment. I would like to see the fight, but I think more than likely we'll end up seeing Regis Prograis against Adrian Broner if he, gets clear from his legal issues. I think that's a more doable fight, and a fight that they'll be more inclined to make, at least on the PBC side. Now, I know he's got a one-fight deal. It's still up in the air as it pertains to who he's going to fight. I know he was trying to fight Maurice Hooker earlier. I don't know if that fight's still going to be made or not, but you know, I would like to see him fight Ramirez. That'd be an entertaining scrap. You got two guys that are not going to take a step back, and you know, it's a winnable fight for both guys. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully we can get that. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure they both want it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, and I agree, BTB comes in, he says, no more between. Like, as soon as I mentioned another fight, BTB, he heard it from somewhere. You know what I mean? He came in, he's like, no! Like, I want these motherfuckers to fight now. And I agree, you know what I mean? Like, but
we want undisputed.
Yeah, man. I want to see undisputed, you know, at the end of the day. And because not like it stops. Shit. Whoever becomes undisputed, whether it's Tater Regis 2 or Ramirez Regis for the first time, it's still a hell of a fight either way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I say do it, man. And I still maintain this, Ashy. I mean, a year ago I said Tater beats Regis, Ramirez beats Tater, Regis beats Ramirez. And I'm going to stick to that. Like, I still believe that. You know, so, you know, styles make fights. So at the end of the day, you know, so I'm going to stick to that, man. Right now, like you, I'm looking forward to that without a shadow of a doubt. And Regis, you know, he has options. I want to – did you hear Tim Bradley having a hard time with Ramirez, the name?
No, what was he calling him?
It was calling him Ramirez. And oh, dude, mamar, like, literally means, like, you know, something derogatory, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you know, what that girl did for you in the back seat in high school type of shit. You know what I mean? Like, but it was calling him Ramirez. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, whoa, Bradley, what's going on over here? He called him Ramirez. And then he called him Ramazai, and he called him all everything but Ramirez.
You think it was on purpose?
No. I just think he was having a hard time. He wouldn't even like.
This dude is married to a Latino, so how could he?
I don't know. He was like Ramirez, and he would stop, bro. Oh, God damn it!
I mean Latina, not Latino. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. He was saying everything, bro. You know what I mean?
I was ignoring him because I know him and Dre were having an opposite of opinion on the fight. You know what I'm saying? Him and Andre Ward were differing in opinions as far as who was winning, but I wasn't catching that he was butchering the name, though. I probably was, you know, just more focused on what was going on in the ring, man. That's crazy, man. Ramirez.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Man, Ramirez and Marimis and Marry Me. He was saying everything but Ramirez.
No shit. How I miss all that shit?
Man, I gotta find it right now, man. If somebody could find that on Twitter, post it in the chat, man. Okay, because I need to play this, man. It was bizarre, bro. I think I got it. I found it. Check it out. Check it out.
Tess. Freddie knows Ramirez. Oh my God. Ramirez. The question.
They just call him Jose, bro. You know what I mean?
And I remember him saying what Freddie Roach was saying about him. I just totally blanked out with his struggling to it just sounded like typical idiot ass fucking Tim Bradley. You know? Fuck.
Oh man, that had to be. That's one of the crazy, bro. I'm gonna make a squirrel style video about that, man. But dude, just call him Jose. You know what I mean? Like when I can't pronounce it, like, you know, when I'll even say it, I can't pronounce that dude's name. You know what I mean? I just call him something else, bro. You know, like
Lomachenko,
yeah. You know, just Ramirez, the Mexican. You know, and then just say something else, bro. The champ. Hey, the champ needs to, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Just say something. I don't know if the Mexican would have gone well, but
Probably.
yeah. The champ, hey, the champ needs to do this. Just mix it up, bro. You know? Hey, what do you make of this statement, Ashy? It caused a lot of controversy. Andre Ward basically said Josh Taylor can't fight on the inside. And Josh Taylor didn't like that. He came out and said, you don't know shit. You know?
Well, he got offended. He got offended because someone was being critical, and I'm glad he got offended because a lot of times it's analysts who were never fighters criticizing fighters, and the first thing they say is, "Oh, you ain't never fought before." Well, now you got one of the best to ever do it criticizing you, and you still got something to say. If anything, take the criticism and work on it because it's something that he see in your fight game that just is non-existent. And it ain't like he was lying. He was telling the truth. So Josh Taylor just may be one of those guys who thinks that he has the entire boxing game on lock. And there's no room for growth. And if that's his viewpoint, then he's gonna plateau right where he is. Because if you can take the criticism from Andre Ward, then hey, I don't know what else to tell you. That means your trainer can't tell you nothing. So
let's ask Bradley. What do you think, Bradley?
Freddie knows Ramirez. Oh my God. Ramirez is a pressure fighter.
Actually, I knew Roach worked with Ramirez. I knew worked with Postol. I knew they were both out of wild card. It completely slipped my mind in the build up to this fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. You know, but you know, and I know I was talking to Stormy about this, and he brought it up to me even after the fight. It didn't hit me because I wasn't hearing Bradley's commentary because I was doing a live cast with Chief Funky and Chicano, so I wasn't listening to Bradley or anybody.
Yeah.
But everyone knew. But if it was pointed out more, and you kind of thought about that going in, would your assessment of the fight been the same or different? If it was kind of pointed out to you, because, for example, I had forgotten about that. I don't know if did you remember that last week? That
Ramirez is a pressure fighter?
No. That Ramirez and Postol were basically stablemates at the wild card.
No, I totally missed that. I totally forgot about that, man.
Yeah. So, my assessment, that was not in the equation.
Mine either. But I didn't say that Ramirez would beat the shit out of him. I said he would win and that he would turn it up like he usually does heading in the second half of the fight, which he did, but he just wasn't sharp. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't surprised by the fight. You know what I'm saying? The only thing that was a little bit shocking is that Ramirez wasn't on point, especially with the right hand.
Bradley has something to say about, because I know they worked at the wild card and everything. I know Bradley wanted to say something about that. What was that, Bradley?
Freddie knows Ramirez. Oh my God. Ramirez is a pressure fighter.
All right. Anyway, end up picking on Bradley, man. But you know what it is? I think sometimes, man, you're amped up during a fight, and maybe he just couldn't get the word out. For whatever reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. And what is that? Just like I picked Taylor to beat Regis. Yeah, man. At the end of the day, so we will see. It's a hell of a fight, man. Both Taylor and Ramirez are hittable. They both are really good at what they do, Ashy. I think that's going to be a war, man.
Yeah, man. They're tough guys. They're genuinely tough guys. Ramirez is tough as fuck. He took flush shots from Amir Aman. And we know Amir Aman, he may not be the best fighter in the world, but too many fighters have sung his praises about how hard he hits. You know what I'm saying? And Ramirez was walking through that shit. Yeah. And Josh Taylor took bombs from Regis and still squeaked out that decision. You know what I'm saying? And unified those titles. So it should be an explosion, man. Some genuinely tough guys. Plus, Josh Taylor is big as fuck, man. I don't even know how he makes 40. So.
Well, we're going to talk about a dude that's tall for his weight class in a little bit, actually. But actually, I believe he's just as tall as Tater. And that's actually where we're kind of going right now. Jamal Herring is going to be fighting Jonathan Oquendo. Look at this dude. Jamal Herring, super five. He's a southpaw at 130 pounds now, super feather. 5'10", 72-inch reach. Jonathan Oquendo, bro, 5'4", 67-inch reach. So we know what's going to happen in that fight. Look, the way I see that fight, Herring should win as long as he does the basics, to be honest with you. If he utilizes his jab, keeps distance, doesn't engage too much on the inside, there's no reason Super Fight should not win this fight, right? What Jonathan Oquendo needs to do is make this fight as easy, as dirty and as, ugly as possible, and get on the inside and try to land big rights on that southpaw. His right hand's okay, but I just think he's a little overmatched here by the Marine, man. What do you think about this fight, Ashy?
I mean, it's not like we never seen this guy before. You know what I'm saying? This guy's a traveler, and every time he stepped up to the plate, and since he's been fighting, he's come up short. Juanma Lopez knocked his ass out, and Vasquez Jr. stopped him. He got beat by Abner Mares. You know what I'm saying? So this is his last hurrah. This is the last shot, going for a world title. He's maybe a little bit long in the tooth, and his dimensions don't favor him at all against Jamal Herring. And plus, Herring got that big fight that he's looking forward to in facing Carl Frampton, which should pay him a pretty penny too. So in this particular fight, I expect him to be smart and jab the dude face in for the whole 12 rounds. I don't expect a knockout. I think he's just going to outbox him and use his natural ability and his dimensions against him and make this guy come up short another time, being a pipsqueak in there with a guy that's 5'10", and the guy that likes to stay on the outside and use his jab. It's going to be a tough fight for him unless he goes balls to the wall and try to bomb Jamel Herring out. But we'll see what happens on that, man. Herring is still improving with each fight too, because I didn't expect him to dominate Lamont Roach the way he did. I thought that I had a much closer fight going into the fight, and Herring proved to me like that was absolutely no step whatsoever for him. And maybe that's him just continuing to develop as a young champion. But I think him sparring with Terrence Crawford and being under that tutelage, with Bomac and Terrence Crawford and stuff like that, he's steady adding to his fight game and is showing up on fight night. He was already a hard worker because, he was a Marine. So you ain't got to ask him to train hard and make the weight and be on weight. The rest was just, adding to his fight game and it's showing up on fight night. So we'll see what happens, though.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And look, this is one of those fights that Jamal Herring should win. Now, there is a little bit of an X factor here. He hasn't been beating COVID, though. So 2 times in a row, like the day before the fight or the day of the fight, he's tested positive for COVID, right?
Yeah.
Is he going to win the trilogy against COVID? That's number one, Ash.
Right. Well, that those COVID tests are kind of fugazi anyway,
Yeah, they're like boxing judges, like it's
false positives and stuff like that. So,
yeah, man, I'm just hoping his fight doesn't get canceled again. That's number one. It's already, this dude should have fought like a month and a half ago, bro. So that's number one.
Yeah.
But even if the fight goes through, what if he's overtrained or something? Well, what if he's sluggish in there and, Oquendo makes it ugly and stays really active? And, is it possible that Oquendo could pull an upset here given all the circumstances?
Man, it's the sport of boxing. So, hell yeah, anything can happen between 1 and 12 on any night in any fight. That's what makes the sport so wonderful, man. The the unpredictability sometimes that the sport brings in a fight that you usually think your prediction would be right in. The sport shows you something else. It all goes back to the ring, sorting out all the facts. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And yeah, man. I mean, shit. I doubt it. You know what I'm saying? But this may be Oquendo's last hurrah, his last opportunity. You know, he's a Puerto Rican guy. You know, they got a lot of pride. Maybe he'll give it his all this time, and if he catch Herring slipping, we could have a new champion. I doubt it, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, I doubt it too, man. It's what do you think of that, bro? 5'10" at 130 pounds.
That's insane. That's like Chico.
Right?
That's Morales at lightweight. Well, he was a 30-pounder at first too.
Yeah.
Diego, you know, knocking motherfuckers dead though.
Right. Look, man, Herring is. I want to see him, man, against Frampton, man. That's a hell of a fight.
I think so too.
You know,
I think so too. But Frampton's a pretty short guy too. You know, we'll see. But he's a lot more crafty than a lot of the guys that Herring's been in the ring with. And I think he's smart. He's a much smarter fighter, and I think the openers will be there. So Herring better not overlook him.
Yeah, do not overlook him. That's for sure. Right. Yeah. You got to listen to the September 1st edition, man, of A Puncher's Chance. Make sure you throw a jab at my like button. Make sure that like button does turn blue. We're almost there, man. Give me the 30 likes. We're at 28 likes. Give me the 30 likes, right? Just press the like button, all right? And make sure you visit mandatorydefense.com. You see it in the ticker down there. And that's right, Doc. These COVID tests are like freaking boxing judges, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you know, sometimes I'm like, what do you mean I'm sick? So I don't know. I'll tell you what, though, I ain't getting that. I'm not gonna be one of the first volunteers for no vaccine, though. I'll tell you that right now.
No, that's not happening.
Not over here. So, hey, man, Oquendo, check him out. He might have a puncher's chance. So check that out on ESPN. And then we're gonna have your Dennis Ugas against Abel Ramos. Hey, you know, Abel Ramos, man, he lost to Jamal James, and a couple years ago he lost to Prograis as well. What do you think of this fight, man? At 147, it's for the regular WBA title. If Ugas wins, technically speaking, he will be the first Cuban to win the welterweight championship since Napoles, right? So now, do you consider that, like, since this is a regular belt, right, Ashy?
Yeah.
Would you consider that, like, you know, world championship?
I mean, it's a world title. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to take away any of these guys' accomplishments. You know, a lot of great fighters have come through this sport, man. They hadn't won one world title, even with the multiple sanctioning organizations. I remember it's been some hot amateurs, you know, to come out of the amateur system, and they still didn't win a world title.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, you got to give these guys their accolades, you know, when they do it. You know, am I going to rank it as high as, like, Oscar De La Hoya winning world titles at welterweight, or Shane Mosley, Vernon Forrest, Ike Corte? No, I won't. But you got to give them kudos for at least accomplishing that feat, because whether it's a regular world title or a super title or whatnot, it's still the first time a Cuban has won a world title in that division since, you know, back then.
Yeah.
Damn, did Kid Gal? Oh, okay, I'm tripping. I'm going too far back.
Napoles, yeah. That would be the last welterweight to have it. But yeah, I can't believe it's been that long, though. Isn't that crazy?
Man, boxing, hey, nothing's guaranteed in this sport. You know what I'm saying? Nothing at all. So.
Yeah.
And besides, the market for Cuban fighters, I mean, it's gotten better. You know what I'm saying? But it's just not where it needs to be. You know what I'm saying? Those guys got to keep on coming over here. keep coming to the States, and we got to develop that market because it's a lot of talent coming from that island. There's always been great talent coming from that island, and they always getting shafted as far as big fights. And Ugas versus Ramos, I mean, this is another one. Ugas, he's been knocking on the door for a world title for the longest time now. And in order to appease him, you know what I'm saying, since he's not going to get a shot at Errol Spence or Manny Pacquiao or Terrence Crawford, all the champions, he still gets to fight for some type of trinket, some type of, belt, you know what I'm saying, to at least, until he can at least put his name in the mix to where those guys will want to fight him. You know what I'm saying? Where it would be lucrative enough to entice them to fight him. You know what I'm saying? So
true. Well, I mean, that's something there, man, for sure. Hey, shout out to Love Thyself. Says too many damn titles already.
facts.
So yeah, there is too many titles, but nonetheless they're there. They're already trying to add IBO to the mix, and I kind of blame Klitschko for that. He was carrying that belt around for a while, when he didn't have to, and then McCaskill she has it in the women's division. Now I want to touch on something that kind of Doc mentioned earlier. There's so many undisputed champions in the women's divisions, but I mean, look, I'm going to try and say this in the least sexist way possible, okay? But at the end, I'm not a politically correct guy, so I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, right? Keep on it.
There's not that much talent in the women's
Exactly.
division. You know what I mean? I'm seeing women out here. It's going to turn into a women's rant, and I'm sorry if it comes off wrong to anybody, even though I'm not really sorry, but, I keep seeing this whole movement ask you about equal pay for the women, this, that, and the third. There's not even equal pay with the men.
Right.
That's not how pay works in boxing.
At all.
If you could generate fans, all right, you'll get paid. All right. So at the end of the day, if you generate, and don't get me wrong, networks have a responsibility to at least showcase the women. So we can at least see the product. But, hey, man, I just don't think the women are bringing in that many fans. I mean, props to them. They're getting better. There's more talent. But, dude, some of these women's divisions, dude, I went through it, Ashy. 20 women in a division.
Right.
Just horrible numbers. I'll go over them in a little bit. But what are your thoughts on that, man, on the women wanting equal pay, whatever that means?
Yeah, this is not like the workforce. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is a sport of boxing, and believe me, a lot of these champion women fighters are making more than some men champion fighters. Like when Serrano fought. What's the white chick name that she fought in New York?
Oh, from Brooklyn, right?
Right. I forget her name, but they made okay money. You know what I'm saying? But you got some fighters out there that aren't making that, and they were still complaining about that. Now I get it. Closed mouth don't get fed, but there is no such thing as equal pay because a lot of Hardy, right? So a lot of the men fighters aren't getting jack. You know what I'm saying? Aren't getting a damn dime. Or they got so many people on their team as far as managers and whatnot, 2-3 managers or signed bad contracts that, they're seeing a third of their money, a fourth of their money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maybe she's looking at what those guys on PBC are getting and, she's seeing how they showing up with diamonds and sports cars. And it wasn't always like this in the sport of boxing. They just got to understand that. But at the end of the day, if you can generate tickets, you can call your own shots, and that's just what it is. If you can make the networks want to put you on their TV because you're generating a buzz, the ratings are going through the roof. and people are, trying to buy all these tickets every time you step foot in the ring, then you don't have to demand equal pay. You wouldn't have to ask for equal pay. You could demand it because you'd be moving TV. You know what I'm saying? And I think the fight with Hardy was a step in that direction because, they promoted it. They sold a lot of tickets. They should build upon that. You know what I'm saying? But the talent pool in women's boxing is just not there. The buzz is not going to be what it is for the men because, like you said, the talent pool is just not as deep.
Look, somebody mentioned the WNBA, and look, again, dude, like they just don't generate what the NBA does. It's just a reality. So like that's just the way it is.
Right. They just started dunking. You know what I'm saying? A little frontwards duck. Show me a woman going for a windmill or a fucking.
Well, lower the basket for them, bro.
Do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Look, at the end of the day, Santel Media says Holly Holm left boxing, no money, went to the UFC, made millions. Right. After she knocked out Ronda Rousey, she started making money.
There it is.
So at the end of the day, it's like, look, I'm going to prove it to you guys here, okay? Here at D-Style Boxing, we don't just say things, we prove them, right? This is super middleweight. This is the males, okay? I'm going to go so you can see the total amount of fighters. There are 1,421 super middleweights in the world, right? Now look at those records. I know what people are going to say, but look, the guy ranked 1,419 is like 0-42. I get it. There's trash fighters. You know what I mean? But it's so different in the women, but there's a big difference, though. I'm about to show it to you guys. All right? We're going to go to the women's. You notice how there's no pages, Ashley? Just one page?
Wow.
There's 23. And there's still, look, number 23 is 7-20. You want to compare number 23 in the women's division to the men? Do we need to compare it? Who's ranked 23 for the men? Hold on. Chill out, D-Style. You got to change it first, bro. Male. Let's go male. And my touchscreen ain't working, bro. What's going on?
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Yeah, these surfaces act up once in a while, but I think you have a surface, right? Number 23 in the world, in the men's, is a 14-0 fighter, bro. Shevchenko. I don't know how many Denkos and Chenkos are out there, but they're out there. You know what I mean? Right? So, like, there's no comparison, bro. All right? Now, we could keep it moving if you want. Should we keep it moving? Let's go to welterweight for the men. Let's go to welterweight for the men. Right? In the world for men, all right, there are 2,212 competitors, all right? Look, a dude that lost his pro debut, all right, is number freaking 2211 right there, okay? If you go to the females, all right, at welterweight, they got 2 pages, all right? This is Katie Taylor's division. 59 women. Look, it's an 0-1 person as well at number 59, right? So at the end of the day, there's no comparison, is my point. You know what I mean? So, first of all, Ashley, you got to kind of show it, right? But isn't it kind of amazing how much of a difference that is, the gap in talent?
Yeah, I mean, it's telling, you know what I'm saying? And maybe that's something that needs to be shown to the women that's asking for equal pay. It's not the same, you know what I'm saying? The accomplishments that they're doing in women's boxing, that shit's not going to happen in the sport of boxing on the men's side. By the mere premises that it's too much talent in each, especially right now. We went over that maybe a week or two ago, how we were saying there's nowhere to run from 130 pounds all the way up to damn near 175. There's nowhere to run. There's just talent everywhere in these divisions. So going and becoming a 3-division champion and 12 fights for Clarissa Shields or whatever. That shit wouldn't happen in men's boxing. Well, I'm sorry, Lomachenko did it. So let me take that back. But very, very rare. How many years did it take for someone to accomplish that? So
you're right. Look, at the end of the day, dude. Look, Christian Martin. She signed her contract at Don King. And she got paid more than a lot of the men. All right,
she did.
So she got her money. Layla Ali got money. It's not. This is not the way it works, guys. It's not. I'm all for equal pay for equal work in the workplace and all that shit. Like, I'm all for that, but at the end of the day, that's not the way boxing pay scale works. There's not even equal pay for the men. Dude, it's ridiculous, bro. It's like flyweights coming out and being like, hey, we should get paid the same as heavyweights.
Heavyweights, yeah.
Well, people aren't showing up to your fights like the heavyweights.
Right.
It depends. Like, it depends who shows up, what you're generating. It's just the way it is, dude. It has nothing to do with what's between your legs. Nothing at all. That is the most equal treatment I can give anybody, right? What's between your legs is not dictating boxing what you get paid, right? You got to make a name for yourself. That's how you get paid in boxing. You go out there, you put butts in seats, you're going to get your money, right? You make a promoter money, they're going to make you money. Just the way it works, right? At the end of the day. So I kind of just wanted to kind of, say that, and another thing, Ashy, what are your thoughts? What's your early thoughts on Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez?
Early thoughts, man. I'm still, trying to work this fight out in my head. First of all, it's a great fight. And the only reason why we're getting this fight is because Bob Arum did not have to negotiate with another promoter to make this unification fight, this for Undisputed. All he had to do was take himself to the office and give himself a stern talking to make sure that this fight took place, and he was successful. So we got it. But you have an older guy who has all the experience in the world, at least in the amateur ranks, and as a professional, with very few fights, has accomplished what it usually takes guys a whole career to accomplish. And he's going up against a very young, strong bull at lightweight to take his legacy to the next level. You know what I'm saying? To say that he went through all these divisions and it culminated with him winning the undisputed lightweight championship with 4 belts. But still, and so undisputed lightweight champion, which we hadn't had one since the late great Pernell Whitaker. And man, I'm excited about it because it'll do wonders for both guys. You know what I'm saying? And if the youngster lose, he don't have to hold his head down. He can say, "Well, I lost to a 3-division, 4-division champion, and a bona fide future Hall of Famer in Lomachenko." Lomachenko loses, he lost to a young bull who's going to go on and do great things in the sport of boxing. So, and they're going to make some money in this fight. So there's no losers. So I expect both fighters to come to the ring and give it their all. Boy, it's a tough task for both guys. I can see both guys pulling it out. So right now, on the surface right now, I cannot decide who I like more in the fight, man.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup for look, I'll say it, Loma's going to sleep. You know what I mean? 9-9. Okay.
You've been very adamant about that. So.
Yo, Pia TV says he needs to have that same talk when it comes to Taylor versus Ramirez. You know what I mean? So with that talk needs to happen for sure. Brew goes, Horace says, my money is on Teofimo. I'm still waiting on someone to take this bet. Man. Well, man, there's plenty of people that got Lomachenko winning. You know what I mean? That's not. But to be honest with you, bro, bet the casino. You're going to get the odds on that. That'll be my advice, as far as that goes. But Theo by KO says best fight the best. It should be interesting. Hey, somebody, I know I moved on from this. I kind of want to end it with this topic here. because someone mentioned it in the chat, and I appreciate you guys giving your input, by the way. All right, in the chat, thank you for those thumbs up. All right, make sure you keep thumbing it up and everything. But the women's going from, because they're only 2 minutes, Ash,
Right.
and only 10 rounds, right? So whenever anybody suggests, hey, maybe they should go 3 minutes and 12 rounds, so it's equal to the man, because they keep talking about equality. So yeah, I agree. You know what I mean? Have them have equality, 3 minutes like the men, 12 rounds like the men. But there's some female fighters out there, women fighters, that are like, well, if you do that, you have to pay us more, right? But I don't think they understand. Like, you're not getting paid by the hour, like, you know what I mean, or by the minute.
Right.
That's not the way it works. Like, did you want less money if you had to fight early or what? Like, what does that even mean? Like, at the end of the day, if women are serious about wanting to make more money, right, then women's boxing in general needs to produce more stoppages, more knockouts. You know what I mean? More talent, you know what I mean? And show that they could do what the men do. Go 3 minutes for 12 rounds. You know what I mean? Show that you're equal in that aspect to the men. Because if you get that and more people pay attention to women's boxing, and there's more eyeballs on women's boxing, and more people pay money to watch women's boxing because you introduced that rule, you're going to make more money.
Right.
So that's just the way I feel about it. But
more than anything, they just need to learn how to sell their product better, and learn how to generate a buzz. You got to get folks talking about women's boxing, because right now everybody don't even talk about men's boxing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't just walk up to somebody and talk about boxing, even to this day. Now, granted, boxing has been trending these last few years, trending upwards. It has, but it's still not as popular as American football. You know what I'm saying? Or the NBA. You ask anybody about LeBron, they know who he is. You ask somebody about your Dennis Ugas, they're going to be like, who? So it's just, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So you got to learn how to generate a buzz to get folks talking about it. Until then, it's a pipe dream.
Be like, Ugas. Say, well, what is that? Is that like some food in the aisle or something? What is that?
No shit.
Man, at the end of the day, man, it's, what are you going to do, But with that said, Ashy, man, it's been great once again having you on. Hey, make sure you guys visit mandatorydefense.com, all right? And good point, the Texan. Like, a lot of the women don't realize if you get a woman in trouble in, let's say, a third round, they're not going to recover in the corner because you have an extra minute to hurt them and take them out, and it's a shorter night, So it works both ways. But at the end of the day, Ashy, any final thoughts, man?
No, man, just waiting for this COVID thing to blow over, man. And I'm gonna be back working again. Back on my missions. I gotta travel again, but it is what it is. I gotta do what I gotta do. So hopefully everything works out as far as on that front, moving and shaking. So, but I should still be able to do what we do and keep up with the sport of boxing. So,
yeah, man, I think a lot of great fights are coming, and it's gonna be great, bro. Once again, thanks for coming on. Shout out to the chat. Make sure you throw a jab on my like button for those listening on archive as well. All right, this is D-Style Boxing. And what do we say, Ashy?
Keep it boxing.